listen to me as I slow it down. Can tell yours if you want it. Enjoy the ride, 'cause those ups and those downs is what makes it worth it.
Hello everyone, welcome to whatever this is. I don't even really know what I'm going to be naming this podcast, I guess you can say. I just kind of sat down and started filming, and I'll just kind of figure out all the details by the time this goes up. Basically, I just wanted to sit down and talk about topics that are on my mind. So health, fitness, just life things. But today we're going to be talking about what is healthy. But before we hop into that, I just want to note about what's going on in my life right now. So I live in Florida. A lot of you guys already know this if you've been watching for a while. But the weather is on something else right now. I know in a lot of other areas in America, they are getting snow, so it could be a lot worse. But the humidity is on a whole nother level. I have never seen it that bad. You go outside and any exterior wall is just filled with moisture, just like humidity. Our windows are humid. We have a mini fridge. That outside is filled with humidity. Like, I actually have to go and get a dehumidifier today. I might honestly get two and put in various places around the house, but I've never seen it this bad. Weather is so on and off as well. Right now, it's 46 degrees. And then, like, in a couple of days, it's supposed to shoot back up to 80. This weekend, I'm crossing my fingers that the weather stays an okay temperature because it's supposed to be the NPC Women's Workshop in Orlando. And I didn't get to go last year because this event fills out so quick. Since it's a free event, so a lot of people want to go to it because there's a lot of big judges and like bikini Olympians that go there. So I'm really excited for that. And then I'm also really hoping for weather to stay good for Friday because Jacob is going on a deep sea fishing charter, and he was actually supposed to be going on this trip. It was the weekend after Christmas, so it's been postponed like at least 3 times now just because of weather. It was rainy, and then a cold front came in, and then something about the wind. I don't know. There's a lot that apparently goes into fishing that I don't know about. All I told him, I'm just like, make sure when you go out on the boat, it's not going to be like the Titanic, like you're going to be safe. That's all that matters with me. So fingers crossed he can finally go on his trip on Friday, and then he'll be able to come back and be with me for the NPC workshop. I'm hoping to get some footage for that as well. So if you're not able to go to that event, you'll be able to see what it's like inside of there. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind me filming. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, that is what's going on this weekend. But I want to go ahead and dive into today's topic, which I said is, what is healthy? A lot of people have a goal this year to get healthier, but really, what is considered healthy? A lot of people think being healthier means you're losing weight and you're like 6% body fat and you have a 6-pack abs and you're just like absolutely shredded. So like the stereotypical picture of like a bodybuilder, they think that is like the epitome of health right there. But to be totally honest, you can be a bodybuilder on stage weight, and be just as unhealthy as someone who is 30% body fat and, you know, isn't doing the same like health things. So that is where it comes in of like health is really relative. So let's first go into like the lean side of things. So to be healthy, you of course want a decent amount of or I shouldn't say a decent amount of body fat. You want a lower amount of body fat, just because if you have more body fat on you, you typically have more risks for diseases or like internal issues. But it's not the less is more type of thing. You can get to a point where you have too little of body fat, and that is not good for you. And that is where being stage lean goes into like the unhealthy category. And that is why bodybuilders cannot and should not stay stage lean all year round. Your body needs a certain level of body fat to be able to optimize your hormone levels, to have good brain function, to just be healthy. And in that sense, besides just like the body fat levels, being that lean really can mess up your digestion as well. Like I know personally, when I go through prep, I notice a really big change in my digestion when I start getting closer to my show. When I'm in off season and when I'm eating whatever the heck I want, but still like keeping it healthy, I'm regular. Like I'm going to the bathroom fine. I'm not having any issues. But when I start to get lean, I will start having constipation issues. And like a lot of competitors do have that issue. And that's just because you're not getting in certain nutrients and just what your digestive tract needs. So that's just one thing that you kind of deal with. Of course, like making sure you're still taking in like high quality foods, and also making sure that you don't have to do a super drastic cut to step on stage is also going to help that issue. So meaning only having to lose 15 pounds to step on stage instead of having to lose like 25, 30 pounds to step on stage. If you have a lot more to lose, your prep is going to have to be a lot harder, which means food is going to get a lot lower, which means that's going to affect your digestive tract a lot more. Hormonally, that's going to get messed up when you're super lean, just because a lot of hormones are regulated by body fat and lipids, which is fat, in your body. So if you are really low on those reserves, your hormones can get out of whack. But I mean, even besides like the internal and actual factors going on in your body, a lot of mindset plays into that as well. It's crazy to think, but I have been a lot of different body fat percentages in my life. I've been on stage where I've gotten down to like 6 or 8%. That's what the InBody says. But then I've also gone up a little bit higher, and I've been in like the 20% ranges. And I will say my body image and my confidence is almost the same when I am super lean versus when I am a little bit heavier in off season. Like I could lose 25 pounds stepping on stage, have abs, and I will still look at myself and be like, this is wrong, this isn't good enough, and still just like nitpick my body. So if you think that losing weight is just going to like flip a switch and you're going to be like so confident and be so much better in yourself, no, honey. Like, I wish that's going to be the answer, but it's not going to solve everything. It might solve some issues, but you still need to do the internal mental work to be fully happy with your body image and your confidence level. And I really think that being healthy includes that mental mindset of it, because you could be physically healthy and be like top notch, but if your mental health is not there, you're not going to be able to enjoy your physical side of it. It's an inverse relationship, really. If you want to be physically healthy, you also have to be mentally healthy, because your mental state is going to greatly affect the choices that you make about your physical state. So a lot of people think that going on a diet, losing weight, getting healthier is all of a physical aspect. And in a way, it is, because you have to physically work out, you have to physically do cardio, you have to physically make your food, and you have to physically eat your food. But what is telling you to do those physical things? Your mind. So if you don't have that first step there of your mind telling you what to physically do, you're never going to get to that second point anyway. So you need to have a strong mental mindset to be able to overcome those obstacles and be able to have enough resilience to stick to your plan and get done what you need to get done. And if you are sitting there and you're beating yourself up, you're telling yourself you look terrible even though you're losing weight, you're telling yourself that, oh, I'm never going to be able to do it, I'm not going to be able to step on stage, I'm not going to be able to win, I'm not going to be able to XYZ. You're not going to have enough confidence in yourself to be able to execute your plan then. And if you're not having enough confidence in yourself to execute your plan, well, then of course you're not going to be successful. Of course you're not going to actually get there. And you're really just self-sabotaging yourself. And the whole reason why I'm saying this is because I have been there. That is a thing that I still honestly struggle with. And I think 90% of people who are going on a diet or prepping for a show struggle with it too. And so then it kind of goes into of like, well, how do you even get over that? And that's not an easy thing to answer, because technically you can just suck it up and just go through the program and just get the shit done that you need to get done. But that's not always an easy thing to do. It's easier said than done, put it that way. And that kind of brings me to a point. So I was listening to the Say More podcast with Laura Lee Chapados and Phoebe Hagen. Absolutely love them. And Laura Lee was saying that she was listening to a podcast from Alex Hormozi. This is a lot of like chain podcasts right here. But he was basically talking about how can you be successful. To be successful, you know that you have to do like a certain list of things. Thinking it that way can be difficult to achieve. So you can almost use reverse psychology and think of it the flip way. So instead of thinking, okay, this is what I have to do to be successful, you can think of it as what can I do to not be successful? What can I do to fail? Okay, well, if I want to fail, I wouldn't follow my meal plan. If I wanted to fail, I wouldn't go to the gym. I wouldn't do my cardio. I wouldn't do all of those things. So now it's like, okay, well, if you don't want to fail, do the opposite of those things. And it sounds silly, but in a way, at least for like myself, I resonate with that so much more. Hold on, I want to make sure I'm still recording. Okay, perfect. So when I have those moments where I'm like, oh, fuck, I really just want to go to the bar and get their boneless chicken wings and have a drink and watch football and just like not care what I'm eating. I know that even though I really want to do those things, it's not going to get me to where I need to be. And if you think of it in a way of like, oh, well, you got to do these things to be successful, versus thinking it, if you do these things, you're gonna fail, it almost puts more of like a definite answer in your mind. Like if you're looking at things and being like, oh, well, I know I have to do this to be successful. Well, like maybe if I don't do it, I'll still be able to get some progress and I'll still be okay. Versus thinking it of like, if you do this, you are going to fail. It just makes it a lot more like eye-opening and more realistic to you. Like, shit, if I do this, I am actually going to fail. So if I don't follow my meal plan, it's not that, oh, I'm like not going to get as much results. It's going to be like, oh, I'm not going to win. I'm not going to get where I need to be. But kind of bouncing back to the confidence side of things. With my like business motto, it's confidence to act like a pro. And what made me really stick with that line is because that is what I learned, and that is what helped me improve the most. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of a backstory. If you are new here or you haven't seen a lot of my videos, and if I mention a person named Jacob, that is my husband. I absolutely love him to death. I will have a couple episodes where he does join me on here. He just can't always be on here because he has a normal like working job. He doesn't work from home like myself. But anyway, when I first met Jacob, like one thing that really attracted me to him was his confidence. Just in like everything that he did, he just had this confidence about him. He's like, if you have confidence, people are going to trust you. People are going to lean into what you do. So he's like, be confident in yourself, and that is going to portray to other people. And that, I don't want to like go too far of how like that worked. Okay, I'm going to say it. Basically, that was more so of like, when we were trying to get into places when we were young, he was just like, have the confidence. You'll be able to get in. You'll be fine. But anyway, that's a side story. So that was like the first part. And I was like, holy shit, this actually like works. Like, okay, well, I can transfer that same confidence to the stage. Because when I did my first competition and I stepped on stage and I watched my videos and then my professional pictures I got back, and I cringe at those photos. And I looked unconfident because like my shoulders were kind of rolled forward. I was kind of slouching down a little bit. I was kind of like really tight inside myself. And you could just tell that I didn't look as confident. Versus if you go to the second year that I competed, my confidence level looked drastically different. Just my posture and the way that I stood, my movements, just I made people believe that I was confident in myself. And the funny thing is how I felt about myself was no different than how I felt in my first competition. I was still very scared to step on stage. I still felt like I wasn't good enough. I was nervous. I still felt like, oh, there's no way that I'm gonna win. But the one difference is that I was like, okay, I have to just fake it until I make it. Even though I might not believe in myself and I might not feel confident right now, I am not going to let the judges see that. I am going to smile. I'm going to have the best posture in the world. I'm going to have great posing. I am going to literally fake it until they think that I have the most freaking confidence out here. And when I got my judges' feedback, the main positive thing that all the judges said was they liked my posing presentation and they loved my confidence. And that blew me away because inside, what I was feeling was not reflectant of what I was showing off, which was a good thing. And so it just goes to show that you have to have this certain level of confidence to be able to be successful. And just that little amount of confidence can make that difference of you actually sticking to your plan and actually getting the shit done that you need to get done and just being able to take you to that next level. And I feel like that's been like a constant battle that's been going on in my life. So I don't know if I've talked about this in any videos on YouTube, but that was my past with disordered eating. So when I was younger, I struggled with really restrictive eating, where I would only eat like an apple a day, or I would try to limit my calories as much as possible because I wanted to be thin. I thought that I had to be thin and skinny to be healthy. I thought that was going to be my ticket to happiness, which is really like fucked up, because fast forward 5 years where I'm actually able to stick to a diet and actually get like stage lean. And then I realized like, shit, getting super lean was not my ticket to happiness. Like, there was a lot of other internal work that I had to do to actually get that happiness. But back then, I thought that was the solution. And so by going through this really restrictive eating, then eventually that would lead into a break and go into binge eating. Like, the pendulum would swing all the way to the other side. And instead of eating like barely anything throughout the day, I would fucking consume everything. And so with this Jurassic swing back and forth, I wasn't able to make any great progress. Like, yeah, when I'm restricting my food, I might lose a little bit of weight, but in the long run, when I eventually break and then go on a binge, I'm just going to gain all of that weight back. And in reality, I was just damaging my metabolism. I was just damaging my hormones. And most importantly, I was damaging my mental health, because the more that I would go through this pendulum swing back and forth, over time, the lower my self-confidence would go. And that's when eventually I started to focus on like, hey, I need to focus on my mental health. Like, that is what's going to truly make me happier. That's what's going to really focus on the important thing in life. It's not just my weight. Now, of course, I still want to be healthy. So I'm still going to the gym 5 times a week and weightlifting. I'm still like doing some fun cardio on the side, like going disc golfing, or going regular golfing, playing pickleball, tennis, like whatever it is. I'm still doing like fun cardio activities. But I'm more so just making it into a lifestyle instead of something that I felt like I had to do to look a certain way to get a certain result. And once I made that switch of like, hey, I'm doing this because of my mental health, I'm doing this because I enjoy it and I have fun, and looking a certain way is just going to be a byproduct of it. And it took me years and years to be able to make that switch. But once I did, that is when I saw my most results. That is when I was able to have my most successful prep. That's when I was able to have my most successful muscle building off season. And that's because indirectly I was building my confidence in myself. And I didn't even really notice that. And I think that's why this last year I have been able to make so much improvement, because mentally I have been in the best mind space. So I'm really excited of moving into this year, because if I can just keep that ball rolling and just keep the success getting better and better, it's going to be an insane year. All in all, that just kind of goes to show that like being healthy doesn't necessarily just mean the physicality side of it, but mental health side of it is huge as well. So let's kind of switch gears, and I want to talk about, so we talked about like being super lean. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy, whatever. But let's talk about the other side, because this is where it gets very controversial. So there are people that are overweight. So when you start getting into the like 30% plus, that is when you're categorized as overweight because you have excess body fat on you. And that's for females. For females, if you can be around like that 20% range, you're going to be in a really good spot. Like you're lean, you're healthy. But there are people that are in like the 30+% range that claim that they are healthy. Now, that is where it comes into perspective of it's not just the physicality side of it, but the internal side of it as well. So we already touched on the mental, but on the internal, what makes you healthy is going to be your levels, like your health markers. So your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar levels, your gut health, like things that you can do a blood test and actually measure and see if it's in the healthy mark or not. Some people can be overweight and all of those health markers are fine. So that's great. So technically from that standpoint, they would be healthy. But the one thing you got to think about is just because you don't have an issue now doesn't mean that isn't leading into an issue in the future. Because having excess body fat, even if it's not affecting you now, will slowly lead you down that path of having issues in the future. You're going to be at a higher risk of getting heart attacks and having like excess plaque build up in your arteries. You're going to be at a higher risk of developing diabetes. All of these things you are going to be a higher risk of doing. So would you rather just not live a healthy life and not try to adopt healthy habits to get into a leaner state to decrease the future risks? Or are you just not going to care and just kind of live your life and just be like, oh, well, I don't have a problem now. I'm just not going to worry about the future. You can think about being healthy as the physical aspect of it, of are you able to lift a certain amount of weight? Are you able to have good cardiovascular health? And are you able to run or get your heart rate up efficiently? Because that right there is not just going to affect your internal health, but it's going to affect your day-to-day life. If you don't weightlift, if you don't work out, and you can't pick up 50 pounds, how are you going to be able to pick up your kids? How are you going to be able to pick up your dog if you need to? Or if you have a package you need to bring inside the house, if you need to do whatever, like things are going to come up where you're going to have to pick up a certain amount of weight. So being able to have that strength there is going to help you through your day-to-day life, especially when it comes to cardiovascular health, because that's not just directly related to your lungs and your heart, but it's going to be related to being able to do certain activities, playing with your kids. If you want to pick up a new hobby, let's say you want to learn how to play pickleball. Like pickleball is becoming such a popular thing. That's something that Jacob and I just recently picked up. And we have like 2 or 3 courts close to our house. And those courts are always full. When we go there, we're lucky if like 1 court is open. So it's becoming a huge, huge thing. So let's say you have a group of friends, they started playing pickleball, and they want you to come play with them, but you have never worked out and you have such bad cardiovascular health that you can't play a game with them. That sucks. Now that's affecting your personal life. Versus if you just ran a couple times a week or just worked out and built up that cardiovascular health, you would be able and be prepared for that situation. because I feel like that's how Jacob and I stay very happy together, is because we're able to do so many activities that we enjoy together. And it's almost like this fun thing where we call like our adventures that we go on. It's kind of like, oh, it's the weekend. What adventure are we going to go on now? Are we going to try out a new sport? So try pickleball. Are we going to try surfing? Are we going to go snorkeling? Are we going to do XYZ? Like, all of those are very physical things. All of them are outdoor things as well, which I think plays a big part in it. It's very important to get outdoors. But it's just being physically active together just doesn't build your relationship, but it also just builds that, I feel like, happiness inside of you. Because you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I feel like it's way more rewarding to be like, holy shit, I am getting fucking good at pickleball. I'm gonna like beat some 80-year-old ladies in a pickleball tournament this weekend. Which, by the way, just because they're old doesn't mean they're not good at pickleball. Kind of side note real quick. One of the first days that Jacob and I picked up pickleball, we went to courts, and like we were passing it back and forth. I feel like we were decently good. And there's this two older ladies that came up to us, super, super sweet, and they're like, hey, do you want to play a game with us? And we're like, sure, because everything else was packed. They really didn't have another court to go on. I kid you not, those two ladies beat us in a game of pickleball. Like, they creamed us. So getting back on track, where was I with my story? Oh yeah, you just feel a lot more accomplished. Like, I would feel a lot more accomplished thinking like, hey, I just did really freaking good at this game of pickleball versus, oh, I sat at a bar and I drank with my friends. Like, yeah, you're having social time and that's fun, but if you're only doing that, it's not as much of a sense of accomplishment versus being able to like physically achieve something. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be good at sports or you have to be super athletic, because I am not a super athletic person, which sounds weird because being a professional bodybuilder, you're like, oh, of course you have to be athletic. I am good at weightlifting, but I am not necessarily good at a lot of sports. I'm very awkward. I'm not the most like coordinated with it. You can ask my husband, he'd back me up on this. And that's why I never played any sports growing up in high school. I hated sports in high school because I sucked at them. And I think partly it was because I didn't have confidence in myself. But anyway, you can do things of like, hey, I went and I did a 2-mile hike today, and I wasn't able to do that last time. That could be a physical achievement where it's not necessarily a sport, but you still achieved something physical. So there's a lot of things that can go into it. But anyway, and that kind of covers the side of like, you have to weigh your pros and cons. Are you worried about the now? Are you worried about the future? Are you internally healthy? Are you mentally healthy? There's just a lot of things that go into it. You don't have to be rock hard, lean to be healthy. There is a point, there is a range in the health spectrum. And it all just comes down to where and how much you care and, you know, where you want to be. But we're about 45 minutes in, so we're just going to cut it here. That was a lot of just random talking. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's anything that really stuck out to you or that really resonated with you, feel free to comment it down below. And just let me know that I'm not the only one thinking these things. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be posting these more frequently, so make sure you subscribe so you can get a notification for the next one that I upload. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Listen to me as I